everyone, and welcome back to Apolla's Odyssey. I'm your host, Apolla Asteria, and tonight is good to be back on Aftermath FM. This is my second show with this program, and tonight I'm going to be interviewing Brad Olsen, who's kind of like a real-life Indiana Jones. We've been friends for quite some time, and actually one of my first couple of shows on Apollo's Odyssey were actually kind of pre-edited investigative adventures we did together. So it's going to be good to actually have him on a live show tonight. So yeah, having a lot of fun being a part of these different radio networks. Aftermath FM is definitely the place to be. So if you're watching from YouTube right now, please go ahead and download the Aftermath app. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of really incredible radio show hosts on there, from David Knight, Leo Zagami. Leo Zagami is actually published by Brad Olsen. So Brad Olsen is also a publisher as well as an author. And, like I said, he's like the real life Indiana Jones. He's going around the world doing all these wild investigative adventures. He's been on several different History Channel shows, including Ancient Aliens. So yeah, it's a lot of fun being here. And also, before I get into the show, I want to remind you all to, if you want to keep my show going, you want to keep me going, you want to help fund me in my adventures, because, I pay my way into almost all the adventures I do in regards to doing conferences around the country. A lot of times I get my places paid for, but, I normally have to pay at least my travel fees or something. So if you want to keep me going, keep my show on the road, please go ahead and check out shamanspears.com. For those who are watching it on video right now, I am showing the site, but that is www.shamanspears.com. I make these really incredible, uniquely handcrafted energy channeling devices. They're kind of like a mix between wands and spears. They all have copper coils, crystals, magnets, and sand I collect from sacred places around the world down the insides. I also have, they're also painted with crop circles that have been found around the world. And this particular collection has a lot of my own orgonite that I've created myself, my own orgonite spearheads. And I've been having a lot of fun with orgonite. So I have a lot of other really incredible orgonite creations on the site, from orgonite daggers. They're not real daggers. Like, you can't actually, I guess you could stab someone with it if you did it hard enough, but they're really blunt. They're not really like knives. They're kind of shaped like them. I don't know. It's hard to explain. And I have problems promoting. I cannot promote my stuff on Google or Facebook. I can't pay to promote my art because they think they're weapons. I don't know how to explain to Google that my art are not weapons. They won't let me. So, please go ahead and check out my site. And I have these really awesome feather headdresses that are pretty cool. I just kind of made these messing around, and they turned out really incredible. So, I guess I'm trying to explain them to the radio viewers right now, and you just need to go check it out. They're on shamanspears.com, and I will be actually promoting all of these at the Conscious Life Expo this weekend. I will be at the Conscious Life Expo this weekend, speaking 2 days, actually. I'll have my Shaman Spears booth there, so you'll definitely be able to go ahead and check out my booth. If you're in the LA area, make sure you come by and stop by and say hi, check out my booth. And there's a lot of awesome people that are going to be speaking this weekend. For the viewers that are seeing the video side of this right now, here I am on the lineup, and I'll be speaking 2 days as well as selling my spears. And I believe Friday 3 to 3:45 p.m. Pacific in Century Hall A, and Saturday 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific in Century Hall A. You can find the tickets for that at consciouslifeexpo.com. Also, I have another event coming up before the end of this week, or before the end of this month. Or actually, I'm going to be getting there at the end of this month, but it doesn't actually start till the first week of October. But that is Disclosure Con, and there's a really incredible lineup for that. I'm actually starting off the whole event. It is in White Mountain, Pine Top, Arizona, and I'm actually heading off the whole event at 9:30 a.m. is my talk on Saturday. Lots of incredible people there. Ben Chastain, Jim Goodall, Mike Barra, Travis Walton. A lot of incredible people there. Oh, and we also got the guys from Third Phase of Moon. I believe they're doing a video presentation, and Rex Bear from Leak Project, and John D'Souza. I'm going to have to go ahead and get an interview with him. I haven't really met him yet, so that'll be interesting, definitely. So you're not going to want to miss that one. And that one does not have live stream tickets, so you're going to want to actually make it out to this if you can. I believe the nearest airport is Phoenix. If you're trying to fly in, it's not really too far from Phoenix. It's about an hour. So there's that. Let me see here. Oh, and I have a short article I want to read very quickly here before we get into the interview. I like to share all the latest news and disclosure on the show because, I just feel like it's really important with, there's so much coming out right now. And obviously most of my audience here is into the ET stuff. So this article came out today I believe yesterday from the Bro Bible. Former head of the Pentagon UFO program writing tell-all book with profound implications. Luis Elizondo is, according to the New York Times, part of a group of former government officials and scientists who are convinced that objects of undetermined origin have crashed on Earth with materials retrieved for study. And now he's writing a tell-all book about his time working for and being in charge of the United States government's secretive UFO or unidentified aerial phenomena program. Elizondo, who resigned from the Department of Defense in 2017, was the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program director for 10 years after joining the group in 2008. His memoir, which will be published by William Morrow, an imprint of HarperCollins, promises to reveal shocking, never-before shared details regarding what Elizondo has learned about UFOs and the profound implications for humanity, all of which will escalate what is already a hot topic globally. So, yeah, this is really fascinating, and there's more with the article, so I just recommend going to Bro Bible and checking the rest of that out. But that's really interesting. I hope something actually comes out with that is not just the usual weather balloons and swamp gas. That would be very fascinating to see. And a lot of people in the community have been kind of hating on Luis Elizondo lately, so it'd be interesting to see. I mean, maybe he's trying to make up for people saying that. I've heard a lot of people say that he's like an agent, and he only is letting out certain details but not all the details about what's going on. So I don't know, maybe he's trying to make up for it with this book, who knows. So that'll be interesting to see. All right, so now getting into the interview, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guest on here. Brad.
Hey, Apolla. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since, we haven't seen each other in a while. The last time we met here in LA, we actually filmed a couple of investigative adventure things at the Manson Ranch, and it ended up being I believe my second video ever on my YouTube channel. So I never had you on for a live interview yet. So this is cool having you here. So can you tell the audience a little about yourself?
There we go. And we
got back. Oh, I think there's a little bit of a lag on your end. I hope it's not my end.
You are having a lull on your end too.
Okay.
Talk slowly. Yeah, so you mentioned it in the setup. written 10 books, including my latest, Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet, which we're going to be talking about. E.T. is already home tonight, one of the chapters in the book. I have a publishing business called CCC Publishing, where you can find mine and several authors that I publish through my company. And I also produced this great big street fair in San Francisco last Sunday. There's the staff shirt I'm wearing. And it's always an alien theme, which I think you'd appreciate. And always, I think they come to the event, quite honestly. So you got to be there, Apolla, because you're part alien too, I'm sure. Hey, Ben.
I would love to be
doing
there.
great.
That would be so amazing.
Just on the afterburn of that event. In fact, I just drove up the coast. I'm so glad you texted me to come out early.
Wow. Wait, did you just go to the Renegade Burning Man?
Hanging out on the beach right now. But super happy to be here with you, Apolla. And yeah, let's talk aliens.
Awesome. So did you actually make it out to the Renegade Burning Man? Is that, you said you were doing a bit of an afterburn? I heard that was pretty wild.
It was pretty wild, and it self-regulated into its own city with the same kind of streets that they do at Burning Man. And instead of burning a great big stick figure, they put up over 300 drones, which did all these sacred geometry patterns in the sky because they're all lit up and synchronized. Yeah, and then they did the figure of the man with the arms up, and then when he burned, red came up and yellow made it look like it was on fire. It just kind of broke apart, fell down. It was very clever. 20,000 really cool. People went, but not me. I was working on this event, the Weird Street Faire.
You know, I'm going to have to make it out to the next event. I know you were saying before the show that your next, the next theme is going to be an alien. What did you say the theme was going to be? Some sort of alien theme. Sounds really interesting.
Close Encounters of the Weird Kind. And the poster is going to be a spoof of the old movie poster in the 70s with Devil's Tower in it and the mothership. And then they're beaming down, and it's a big, fun dance floor of all alien species. There might not even be a human among them. So that's a party you're not going to want to miss, Apolla.
Wait, so are you saying, can I come dressed as an alien? Like, is that a thing?
Yes, highly encouraged.
Oh my God. Okay.
With the shaman spears, by the way, you should probably be exhibiting at How Weird. I'm sure you'd sell a lot and your headdresses, all that costumey accoutrement would be very popular. We had 35 vendors with stuff from around the world, so your stuff would fit in really well with this audience.
Oh man, okay, I'm definitely gonna have to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. Especially, I haven't done an event in San Francisco before, so that would be really interesting. So, you came out with a new book this year, and you know you've had a lot of really incredible adventures. I think the newest thing you're working on is a possible adventure to the North Pole. You know, and you did a wild expedition to Antarctica. So
right. I
don't know, what do we even start with? I mean, you always have so many incredible things to talk about. So I feel like I should just give you the floor.
Well, you were out speaking at a conference on the East Coast a couple weekends ago, and I was up in Mount Shasta with Brooks Agnew, who's also going to be at Disclosure Con, and I spoke there about 3 years ago, and because of COVID, everything got delayed and kicked back, and I'm glad they're coming back. I'm glad live events are coming back. So Brooks Agnew does a talk about the hollow earth, and I get into some of that research in Beyond Esoteric as well, including the chapter that we're going to discuss tonight about E.T. is already home, and I have a lot of stuff on Antarctica. And I've been speaking at conferences about it ever since I came back from my trip a little under 3 years ago. About 2.5 years ago, I was down in the southern continent. It was almost the last time you could go, too, because as we all know, in 2019, everything started shutting down and international travel became very difficult. So I enjoy telling people some of the realities of Antarctica. And of course, like you, I'm very curious about many of the mysteries that might be going on down there, and took it upon myself to look into a lot of these things. But
you
the
never found
Arctic
the
trip,
you never found the secret space program, the ships that were supposedly down there and all that wild stuff that everyone's talking about.
well, so sure, we didn't come upon any of the really juicy stuff, but you have to understand Antarctica is ginormous. It's the 5th largest continent in the world, and the distances are very vast. And although I spent about as much time as you can as a tourist, 15 full days, most cruise ships only spend 5 days down there and head back to Ushuaia. We put it out there. We tried to talk to everybody we could and all the research stations and anyone who would have an ear for what we were asking. Some people hinted at it, or really mostly nobody knew anything about pyramids poking through, about mothership crafts under the ice, about under ice bases, and even buried cities. Some people think that Atlantis might actually be under the ice of Antarctica. And these were all, I believe, very legitimate questions to ask. But we are pretty restrained to just the Palmer Peninsula and the islands around there. So to go inland, and even though I think I have identified where at least one of the craft is under the ice and several other features, I'd have to go back with a film, document it, and get in deep. And you can do it. You can go on adventure travel trips, assuming the borders are open again and you can get through. Mysteries down there that I would still love to take a look at and explore around. And I'm half normal. Most people, I ski every winter and train for this kind of thing. I like to stay in shape and be in the mountains and do what I can. So nothing really planned yet, but I would definitely go back to Antarctica. And then Brooks Agnew is putting together an addition to the Arctic, and he believes that he has the GPS coordinates to the inner Earth of the northern part of this planet. The inner Earth entrance is near the South Pole, and there's been a lot of high strangeness and paranormal cited by people, but if you try to look on Google Earth, either one of them, they block them out. So it's not a real good resource. Once in a while, you can find some things, and I have, and I show them in my presentation of weirdness in Antarctica. And my next talks will be in the 5D conference in Las Vegas the first week in November. And I will be doing the secret hidden anomalies of Antarctica. So any of your listeners out there want to get more on this, we'll have a crack at it, including the Nazis down there, Zoe Jane and Mike Human. Good to see you guys. And,
you know what? I might have to try to make it out. I might have to try to make it out to the 5D event in November and possibly speak at that one. So he's been calling me.
Yeah, you should, and I can't believe you're not one of the speakers.
Yeah, I think I.
Yeah, we should get you on.
He's been trying to call me, but I just I need to get a hold of him. That would be cool to do one of those events again for sure.
Right on. Yeah, so yeah, there were Nazis down there, and that's the part of Antarctica that I would like to go to, is the New Schwabenland region. And the West Germans set up base in the same region right after World War II, and which is kind of fascinating. They've always held on to that one slice of the pie of Antarctica because everybody cuts in a slice of their own pie. Now, per the Antarctica Treaty, a lot of those claims do not stand because it is reserved as a biosphere for the whole Earth, like not a national park, but a world park, a world preserve.
Oh, wow.
But they're trying to get in there to do more mining, to do more fishing. Yeah, there's countries that are sort of breaking up the whole unity of the Antarctica Treaty. But hopefully the world community will resist that and tell them they got to stay above 60-degree parallel north. That's where the whole Antarctica Treaty, 60 to 90 degrees, that whole bottom of the planet, including the whole Southern Ocean for the most part, is a world biosphere preserve. And it's a good thing for it because it's very rich in nutrient, animal, and plant life. You wouldn't believe it being a frozen continent, but all the activity is the ocean. And we met some scuba divers who were scuba diving in Antarctica, wreck dives under the ice sheets. And some of the life that they saw down there, I'm telling you, Apolla, I'm a scuba diver too. It rivaled anything you'd see at a coral reef or elsewhere. Very colorful and vibrant and moving, these little spider things, different species, of course, adapted to extreme cold weather, and it's alive down there. It's quite a trip.
Wow, that is so incredible. And when you were talking about the North Pole adventure that's possibly coming up soon, I heard a lot about, there was apparently these missions. I don't know if it was, I forget what Explorer did this, but apparently from what I was reading, someone went up to the North Pole and they were able to get to inner Earth very easily up there. So I'm interested to know what information you have on that. Do you know what Explorer I'm talking about? I know I read it somewhere. I can't think of the name right now.
Oh, Admiral Byrd?
Yeah, he went up to the North Pole too?
That went to Antarctica? He was also a North Pole explorer. Oh, wow. It was Perry that was the first to the North Pole. And a Norwegian named Amundsen made it to the South Pole 35 days before the Scott. And crushed in the ice. The whole 5-member team of the Scott-British party never made it back. They all froze to death. But Amundsen, who did get to the South Pole first, he made it back because he used dog sleds. And you only have a very narrow window of time that you can go into some of these very extreme climates. That's why it makes it such an incredible place to hide out. And if you're an ET group, or if you were a secret society, or anybody that wanted to just be hidden under the ice, Antarctica is very geothermically active. There's over 91 known volcanoes and vents and lakes that never freeze and all kind of geothermal features under the ice, which could also be harnessed and used as free energy. But also, can you imagine the big domes they must create? It's otherworldly there. And in fact, they have even discovered some life forms in Lake Vostok below the ice in Antarctica that are completely unique, that have never been seen before. It's a bacteria that came off of a fish. But there are also dinosaurs that lived there when it was much, much warmer climate. And they've only been discovered, these species, in Antarctica. So it proves that it was once a very tropical climate, and through plate tectonics has moved into its current location. And it broke off of Australia, India, South Asia, and Africa. And there's even some parallel plant life and animals in the fossil record that match those other continents. So it really did, the Pangea thing broke off, because how else could you find the fossil records of these other plants and animals?
I want to touch on that for a little bit because, the theme of this show tonight is ET is already home. And obviously, a lot of these supposed secret space program whistleblowers have been coming forward and saying that there was some Mars, like some breakaway ET race that crash landed in Antarctica when it was at the time when it was a tropical region closer to the equator. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that kind of goes along with our theme with tonight's show in regards to these different bloodlines, these possibly ancient bloodlines of advanced or, different ET races that may have been here for a very long time and, have interbred and become some of the humans that are walking around on the planet today. So, you said with your chapter, ET is already home in your new book. You get into that. So I'd like to hear what you had to say about these bloodlines.
Okay, well, ET is already home is part of the embargo section, the truth embargo, all the really important and, to you and me, interesting subjects that have been withheld from humanity. The subject of ET is already home is a play off of the movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial. E.T. phone home. Well, already home is implying that these extraterrestrials have been here and they have been tapped into for many years. So I start the section with mystery schools, the wizard John Dee, the crystal ball, and then he used the scrying mirrors to intercede with interdimensional beings, what we would call today ultra terrestrials. And this also taps into the whole lower density fourth dimension entities too, who are not always so nice. And this brings up the Archonic network. There we go. Enter the Archons, and then you have the Draco ETs with the gray aliens, and they're all part of that Archonic network of malevolent ETs. Those are in service to self. They are here because they have their own agenda, and they are basically residing within this planet. That's why inner Earth is such a fascinating subject, because there could very well be other kind of civilizations and very advanced ETs that live within this Earth that prefer to stay hidden. There's no real reason for them to make themselves known to us. In many ways, ET races think of us as quite primitive. The humans on the surface planet. I mean, look what we're doing to each other. 1 in 4 people is going to go to bed starving tonight. There are still wars all over the place. There's still environmental degradation. There's the chemtrailing agenda and so many things that are happening, and most people aren't even paying attention to know what it is. So until humans can really start to show that we're worthy of a connection, I don't think they want to really involve themselves. It would almost become like a nanny state. Say, oh, the aliens are here now. Solve all our problems for us. Put out the Fukushima radiation. Bring back the fish in our oceans. Give us our atmosphere. They want us to figure it out for ourselves. And you think about how much violence comes out of this planet, and fear is the main emotion. It must be like the Planet of the Apes down here when you're an advanced species looking at us, because we got a lot of growing up to do. And part of this is understanding the big picture. And the big picture is ET is already home. And you have to understand in which it takes place and manifests itself. And some of those are in the unseen realm. So this goes into the occultist. What you don't see is not always what's not there, right?
That's what I love so much about you.
You had something you wanted to say.
This is what I love so much about your books and just kind of your style of writing and everything, because you get into the esoteric side just as much as the kind of investigative adventure side of things, and the more I guess modern day research with everything. But I really love the esoteric side of everything that you get into in your books. And as someone here, Depp here left a comment: hidden as in within dimensions we cannot perceive normally with the five senses. And I'm curious to know, like, what you mean by that. I mean, like, do you mean like another dimension that is, like maybe are there like ETs around us at all times, just like, in another dimension, but like right here? Because that's something, that I think about a lot. People kind of bring up a lot, like supposedly, like in Sedona, for instance. We were in Sedona earlier in a couple years ago, I think 3 years ago now, and people say that there's like some sort of like city of light that is there already, some sort of like crystal city of light, but it's like through another dimension there. So I'm curious to know what you have to say about all that.
Right. Sure. It's very important to understand that we live in a multidimensional world. The thing is, we can really only perceive this very dense third dimensional world where, you can get a knock on the head and it would hurt. Whereas an etheric, as they were known in the 19th century, or angels in the Bible and jinn and Muslim traditions, there have always been these jokers, maybe leprechauns to the Irish, and all these little sprites and spirits manifesting themselves in different kind of ways. There is a place for them when you look at this in a multidimensional context. And what I mean by that is, now science has finally counted all the way up to 13 dimensions, Apolla. So they're all here within our realm. They're just so intricate and intertwined and lighter than we can see that we really only get a glimpse into the fourth dimension. So, for example, if you've ever seen a ghost or an apparition, that's lower density fourth. And that's kind of the where a lot of discarnate spirits reside. It's not really the place you want to be. You can drive by and take a look, but really where we want to go is jump into the fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension is the beginning of a place of pure love. And human-like ETs can actually be in both places. Perhaps their ships even run this kind of multi-dimensional ability. And perhaps that's how these great distances are breached, by going interdimensionally. So the distances wouldn't be so far as we know them, but go into a wormhole and pop out on the other end. So to really understand the extraterrestrial question, of course, extraterrestrial is, extra, they're from out there. Look to the skies. And what I'm saying here is also look right below our feet to the inner multi-dimensional and can phase in and out of our reality. Those would be the ultra-terrestrials. To keep it simple, those three ways to distinguish. But interterrestrials or extraterrestrials, that's why when they leave Earth, they travel very quickly and then take a very sharp right degree angle. That is when they're going interdimensional. There is no plane in the world that could go at those speeds and make a sharp right angle and then disappear. That's the craft going into other dimensions. Wow. They're still there. They're still right up there. You just can't see them anymore. And they're moving on to other places. But
I've seen that with an orb before.
Just like your article that you read, that the orb did a right degree and then split.
Yeah, that happened to me in the desert in Joshua Tree. It was my craziest like kind of paranormal experience. I share it all the time on the show, so my viewers are pretty familiar with this story. But this like bright glowing lime green or like chartreuse green ball of light came down from the sky, and it just kind of hovered. Like, it was like probably about the size of a beach ball or a basketball, and it just kind of hovered about 20 feet away from me, and it was like eye level with me. It was really strange because it was like it wanted me to see it, like it saw me and it wanted me to know that I saw it. And because it came falling down, then it stopped and just hovered there right at eye level with me, and then it shot forward and disappeared.
Yeah, well, there you go. So you've seen something. That's awesome. And that's basically how it's done. My second book in the Esoteric Series, Future Esoteric, I have a chapter called To Fly a UFO, and putting together all the data points, all the best information to try to understand how these crafts work. And the thing that one of my big takeaways from this conference up at Mount Shasta a few weeks ago was hanging out with and real good quality time with Alex Collier. And he was an Andromedean contactee since he was a little kid. And one of the very few people that I know from conferences who's actually been on a craft and can explain it in great detail. And this is really fascinating and very important information to understand how. And so, for example, the very first time crafts were recovered in the 1940s and 50s, Roswell, and then some, that's when it became top secret. So they had to try to backward engineer this stuff, had to try to, military minds want to one up their opponent and harness this new technology. And they really couldn't understand how there was never a window or a cockpit or anything control panel wise that we would think you'd need a steering wheel to fly one of these things. They don't have them. They have a hand control panel. They had the alien headbands. They had a suit which interacted physically with the chair they sat on. And here's where it gets really interesting. The ship itself is not only AI, it has an intelligence of its own which interacts with the pilot, but it's actually a living organism itself. And this was learned with these first crash retrievals where they would take a damaged or injured ET and then they try to help it or revive it. Invariably, they would die within a year or two or three. They really couldn't survive, not the Greys. But they found that if they were left in the craft, it would revive them and they'd come back to life. So the ships themselves are like med beds and have holographically engineered technology to the cellular level of every single entity and be able to help and fix it. So the craft and the pilot are actually integrated together where the DNA of the pilot itself is part of the craft. So they are one and the same. That's why we tried to get some of our crack pilots to fly these things. They never could. Only the alien pilot that was DNA programmable could fly these crafts. So this is when it starts getting really good. And this is, to me, the big question of how they were able to not only travel great distances, but well.
Wow. This is so fascinating. Bro 20 here says, "Oh, I got to get me some of those alien headbands." I totally agree with you. Bro. I just, when I started hearing about this, I believe I actually read about this in your Future Esoteric book, like 5 years ago or something. And when I read that part about the headbands, the first thing I thought was, man, that makes it feel like your ship would feel like your pet almost. Like it's just like, you walk up to it and it like jumps up and you go and get in it and you're just like kind of like one with it and you just go where you feel like going just by like thinking it. And that's so amazing. Right. I mean, I would love that so much.
The pilots are basically visualizing. Are you asking for an early birthday present, Apolla, because maybe we'll get you a ship.
What?
Go up with your
Oh
shaman
my
spirit.
gosh.
That's what activates
Hey, it was just my
Crystal.
birthday like 10 days ago or a few days ago, 5 days ago now. So, hey, I'll take a late birthday present if you know where to get your hands on some of those. I'd like to see that. Wouldn't put it past you.
I got a request out for myself too. There it is. This is see it here. There it is, flying around. That's her craft, beaming right up. Wouldn't that be nice? Let's go to Alpha Centauri for lunch tomorrow. Apolla, you got plans?
Hey, I'm down.
They got cool beaches, I hear. We'll get a spot right on the beach.
Let's get off this prison planet.
So let's get off the prison planet for a while. It's a little hardcore here sometimes. But this is how you do it. And that's why right now is such a great time to be alive, to meet these minds like the original gangsters, the OGs of the scene. And some of them have retired, like Jordan Maxwell, and others have passed, like Jim Mars. And I just feel so grateful that I had the opportunity to meet these gentlemen and learn from them. And that's what it really is. It's all about all of us combining ourselves. In fact, Alex Collier speaks about the laws of consistency. And that is when every ET civilization that has reached this 5D plateau, not even a plateau, they will keep growing. Everybody evolves. Everything keeps going up. But once you do reach 5D, then you basically live in love, in compassion for all the higher emotions you can think of. And to be in that state all the time, there's no lying. You can read each other's auras, so everybody would just appear to have a red aura if they were a liar. You can't do it. So that person still needs some help. Maybe they got to go back down to 3D and figure it out. So it really is the age of transparency with these advanced ET races.
And that's
so according to the laws
right?
of consistency, well, singularity is more of a merging of AI with humanity. When AI gets to the point where it's more intelligent than humans. And that could very well be a threat to the human race in the future. But the laws of consistency deal with each new generation. And each new generation gets all the information that their predecessors knew. So they can build upon what they already knew. And so every generation gets smarter. And that's the way education should be. Nothing gets held back. Everything moves up to the next newborn generation. And they in turn get better and better with what they do and pass it on to their next generation. That's life in a benevolent ET civilization. And again, they're very human-like too. They might even pass for us here on this planet. We drop the GPS coordinates for How Weird Street Faire. So if they want to come down for a great dance party, we got the DJs to do it. And we just did it last Sunday in downtown San Francisco, the loudest event in the city by far, with 9 stages and big sound systems. So that was great. But in all seriousness, humans will then have to go into an age of transparency, and that is a chapter in Future Esoteric 2, that we would get to the point where nothing gets held back. And so that's why I love these esoteric subjects, because every chapter I write about, everything I put in these books is information that has been withheld from us. So really, when everybody knows about all this stuff, they know it no longer becomes esoteric anymore. It becomes, the word changes to exoteric. And that just means everybody knows it. And that's the way it should be. But as you know, we live in a secret state, and so much has been withheld from us and humanity that it takes people like you and me to try to just say, hey, let's imagine and talk about the evidence we have of aliens interacting and how they fly their ships and just everything we should. But I like to have fun with it too, and that's why we put aliens on the cover and spaceships on every How Weird Street Faire poster, and we like to have fun with it. and put it out there as an art form too. And that's part of disclosure as well. When people celebrate it and put it in art or music form, I know you do with your. So that's a playful way of going about it too, and it's also part of disclosure. I think it's really an important part. Putting little samples in the DJ music makes you scratch your head and think about.
In regards to disclosure, I kind of want to touch on what you just said there about, basically our these past generations being held back from the knowledge we could have really attained because everything is so kept secret or esoteric. And, it's interesting to me. A lot of people are always going on about disclosure, like disclosure in our government and, full disclosure, like why haven't we reached it yet? And to me, like the question I always feel like people should be asking is, why was this all kept secret in the first place? Like, why the secrecy in the first place? We would have never had an issue with, I like a lot of people say like, oh, like people won't be able to handle it if the government comes out and says that, we've been working with at least 3 ET races since the late 30s, early 40s, because people will freak out and jump off buildings and kill themselves or whatever, like what happened during the H.G. Wells broadcast. But, to me, it's like, why was there the secrecy in the first place? We wouldn't have this problem. We wouldn't have to, come out with a certain way of bringing this out to the public where people could handle it if there was always transparency from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's quite frankly that when they started to get the crash retrievals in the 1940s, they also found some things on those craft that really made people shudder in fear, including the wreckage at Aztec, New Mexico. It was perhaps the second or third one after Roswell in the late 1940s. And aboard that craft, they found body parts. So they knew that they were harvesting humans, and that really scared the military people. So part of the reason it went top secret, not only to backward engineer these craft to try to figure it out, get one up on our enemies, but also to find out how we could perhaps mount some kind of defense for Earth in the event we were ever going to be attempted to be taken over. So you can kind of see how Cold War paranoia mixed with top secret compartmentalized clearance, as well as what they found on some of these craft, like human body parts, would say they can't handle the truth. We're not telling the public anything. We're going to work on this until we get a one-up, at least on some of these craft that continue to defy our airspace. Well, who are the first humans to backward engineer craft? Takes us right on back to Antarctica and the Nazis. They were masters at engineering and copying and backward engineering. They had their Vril Society. This is even before World War II. Just after World War I, they were already channeling blueprints for high-tech specs that became craft. So the very first UFOs, as we would think of them as round discs, were actually the Honeyboo and the Vril craft, and then the Bell, which is really fascinating. And that is one of the pictures that I have in Beyond Esoteric here, because the Bell was also a time machine. And then when you work in time travel technology, well, then you can go different places along the timeline and insert the outcome you need to do to perhaps win the war. But it didn't work out that way for the Nazis, of course. Maybe it kind of did, though, because they took all their high-tech toys. They may have lost Germany and Europe, but they didn't lose the best stuff. And those craft that were seen flying over the Capitol in 1952, which everybody thought were aliens or grays. Well, they don't want to show it was the Nazi using their craft, which confronted Admiral Byrd in the Battle of High Jump. And it was a rout. We couldn't shoot down their craft, but they used a dew-like weapon to slice one of his ships in half with great loss of life, but to teach him a lesson. And he turned around, tailed it back, and it's been this third force, which I describe in the chapters in the embargo section, that set up the circumstance not only for the Cold War, because this third force, the Fourth Reich Nazis, went underground. They became an intelligence network. And I'll tell you this, when I was in South America before and after Antarctica, driving up and down through Patagonia, we found places that had a lot of UFO sightings. It was even in the Lonely Planet, Apolla. We're reading about it, Emily Infinity, and I'm like, oh, let's go to this mountain. There's UFOs, and they leave burn marks on the ground, and people have been abducted. And we even did a night watch all night on this mountain. We didn't see anything. So I get back the following year, and my friend David Hatcher Childress, he's on the Ancient Aliens all the time, was telling him about this. And, Brad, those weren't UFOs. Those were the Nazi crap. They were testing. They've got a big underground base in that mountain. And that's one of the places they went. There, Antarctica, and massive tracts of land in Chile and Argentina that are the size of some of our small states, like the size of Delaware, privately owned tracts of land that basically operate as independent nations. That's what the Fourth Reich became. And then in this country, all the paperclip Nazis not only started NASA, the CIA, MK Ultra programs. You know why it's spelled MK Ultra for mind control? Control spelling in German is KONTROLLE. That was the paperclip Nazis that brought that here. And then they got control of the media. There you go. That's the mess we've been in, and that's why it's been top secret ever since.
Wow. So I highly encourage everyone to go and check out Brad's book, because he gets very informative with all this. And I mean, he's just touching on everything here. So I definitely recommend checking that out. So we only have about 5 minutes left to go here, and you're lagged a little bit. So I want to make sure we close out the show properly. Leon the Wise asked, what's your take on Elizondo? I know we don't have a lot of time left. Maybe you can touch on that for a minute here. And then, after you touch on that, maybe, tell everyone where they can find you, closing thoughts, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
All right. Well, I've not met Louis Elizondo. I know that he is bringing forth some of these videos. He's getting picked up on 60 Minutes and a lot of big interviews. My thinking has always been any kind of disclosure is better than no disclosure. Maybe he is throwing a little red herring in there once in a while. Maybe he still is an agent or works for someone. I don't know. I'd like to meet him personally, because I usually get a pretty good feel with someone when I can look at him eye to eye. But let's just see. I mean, he is helping bring forth this kind of disclosure to all the normies, all the people that really can't grok UFOs. He's helping them understand it. And it really helps that more people like him come forward and blow the whistle. So let's see what he continues to do in this field, and if we ever get a chance to meet him at one of our conferences, Apolla. And so people can pick up a copy of Beyond Esoteric if they go to cccpublishing.com. And then that goes through my office here, and I can sign copies for people. You can also go to your local bookstore and request it, which I would recommend over going to that big retailer that's named after a river in South America. Try not to give these big corporations our money. I always say support the little guy. And Yeah, and if you get one through CCC Publishing here, you could have the opportunity of getting a signed copy from you. And so here's all the other authors that I publish. I originally started as a travel guide, travel author, and have been now to all 7 continents. So I have a global perspective. That's my very first book, World Stompers, still in print. That's our new catalog, 2021. And we got 2 new authors just signed with CCC Publishing. Back, look at this. Here's the signed contracts right here from Laura Eisenhower and Michael Jaco are the newest
Laura's
authors with CCC Publishing. Their book's coming out next year and subsequent years. So, yeah, I got a lot going on. Do How Weird Street Faire in May, which is only less than 8 months away. So busy Brad, but I still get out and have fun and travel and speak at conferences, and hope to see you in Las Vegas, Apolla. We got to get you on as a speaker. I love what you have to say too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make it out to that. You know, it always like with those events, it's like I always have to pay for the hotel room and everything, but whatever. I'll have to work that out because yeah, it'd be great to see you again. And oh my gosh, yeah, it's so awesome that you're publishing all these amazing people. You're also publishing Leo Zagami, who is on this platform, Aftermath FM, which I'm speaking on right now. So anyone that's listening on Aftermath, make sure
Leo's
you check
great.
out Brad's books that he's published with Leo, which is the Confessions of the Illuminati series. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. So thanks so much for coming on, Brad. This has been a really fun show. I really enjoy having you on here.
Oh,
so
you're very welcome, Apolla. Thanks
again
for having me on. It was great to catch up with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Anytime.
Definitely. So before I go, please go ahead and if you haven't already, go ahead and check out my site, shamanspears.com. Looks like I closed out of it earlier, so I can't pull it up now, but please go ahead and check out shamanspears.com. I have some uniquely handcrafted energy channeling devices there. A lot of amazing artwork I've been working on for a while, and a lot of it's probably going to sell out at the Conscious Life Expo this weekend. I kind of hope not, because man, I am stressed out trying to get all these spears finished between all of these shows. I have Disclosure Con right after, so hopefully I'll have some stuff left over for Disclosure Con. So don't buy too many of my products, but they're there, just so you know, at shamanspears.com. So thanks so much for joining us here tonight on Apollo's Odyssey. I know a lot of you are saying this has been a really great show, and I really appreciate that. Definitely have more guests to come, more amazing guests to come every Wednesday here from 5 p.m. Pacific to 6 p.m. Pacific. So please tune in, tell your friends, download the Aftermath app if you're watching on YouTube and you have not downloaded the app yet. Make sure you go ahead and do that. And if you are on Aftermath and you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, please go ahead and check out my YouTube channel at Apollo's Odyssey. All right, guys, thanks so much for coming on. And until next time on Apollo's Odyssey, over and out.